It's International Mountain Day. Sri Lanka's own highlands, usually symbols of beauty and biodiversity, have been shaken by the recent floods, reminding us how fragile our mountains truly are. Globally, they cover 27% of Earth and supply 60% of our fresh water, yet they are among the first to feel the impacts of climate change. More rains mean unstable slopes, landslides and loss, made worse by deforestation and reckless development. As we reflect on this year's theme, Glaciers Matter for Water, Food and Livelihoods, we honour our own mountains, scarred yet steadfast. Welcome to Kaleidoscope. I am Savithri, Rodrigo. From the Kaleidoscope studios, Nifras Rifas, Christkindlesmarkt, and your fast-track rundown of the week on CDB News in a blink. It's Christmas time, when Europe glows, spirits lift, and nothing feels more magical than a Christmas market, which is where we are today. And today on Kaleidoscope, we are stepping into one of the oldest and most beloved, the Nuremberg Christkindlesmarkt. Since the 1600s, over 180 wooden booths with red and white roofs have turned Nuremberg into a festive wooden village every December. At its heart is the iconic Christkind, a young woman chosen by the city to deliver a stirring ceremonial prologue and officially open the season. And of course, you can't leave without the market's quirky classic, the Prune Man, Twetskendachi, a charming figurine made from dried plums, walnuts and wire. More than 2 million visitors come each year, and even in 2020, when the world shut down, Christkindlesmarkt kept going online and full of cheer. Nuremberg proves that when Christmas comes, tradition always finds a way to shine. You'll find Kaleidoscope across YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. Follow, like and subscribe to stay connected. A big thank you to SriLanka Live, CDB and The Daily Morning for powering our stories.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
Brief facts, bright updates. Here's your CDB news in a blink. Sri Lanka gets $30 million from the World Bank to boost renewable energy and grid capacity. The United Nations provides $4.5 million in emergency aid for Sri Lanka's disaster recovery. China donates 85 tons of relief supplies to Sri Lanka. And this is how our markets shaped up this week. Increased foreign selling and the lower turnover levels kept the all-share price index at just above 22,000 points. Oil prices held steady at just above $58 per barrel, with the market awaiting news of the Ukraine-Russia peace talks and the US Fed interest rate cut. Gold steadied at just above $4,200 per ounce, while silver went above the historical high of $60 per ounce as investors waited for a US interest rate cut. Paramount goes hostile in its bid for Warner Brothers, challenging a $72 billion offer by Netflix. Jakarta is now the most populated city in the world, dethroning Tokyo, who held the title since 2018. And Paris is named the most attractive city on the planet for the 5th year in a row. McLaren racer Lando Norris wins the Formula One World Championship.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. SriLanka Life.
Sri Lanka is once again picking up the pieces. Streets washed out, homes destroyed, and families displaced overnight. Yet, in the middle of loss, we also see what has carried us as a community through every crisis: resilience, community, and the quiet strength of ordinary people. On Kaleidoscope SriLanka Live Dialogues today, we turn to a story that feels especially resonant at the moment. Paper Plane is a novel about silence, about identity, and the long shadows of conflict, and also about rebuilding, reclaiming, and finding your voice after being fractured by circumstance. Author Nifras Rifas is in our studio today. Paper Plane deals with silence as survival. How do you see that playing out in Sri Lanka's response to the floods we've been experiencing?
So Sri Lanka is like a 98-year-old wounded, troubled man or a woman with bandages, plasters all over. That's Sri Lanka, if I compare it to a human. And then there's what I say is very ironic because we kind of unite when there's a tragedy. When there's tsunami, we unite. When there's a bomb, we unite. When there's a disaster, we unite. Like a month ago, we were just fighting with each other. So I think that's Sri Lanka for me, and I think maybe Paper Plane, glides across that.
Is neutrality a coping strategy in Sri Lanka still, or have repeated crises made people just be more vocal and act more bold?
So we look at things, in a different perspective, I guess. So we got wounds; those are not healed because you know why? Because repeatedly we've been sort of exposed to we had a civil war, and then we've got natural disasters. So it's like there was no time for us to sort of heal. And also I think it's because we are also a combination of people from different communities. There are different nuances, layers in between. So because of that, people are they're very silent. They don't want to expose themselves.
So this novel explores displacement. How does that resonate with the thousands displaced now by the floods?
Aren't we all displaced? Maybe literally and metaphorically. But I think again it's something for us to sort of think, because again displacement of these topics it's nothing to do with because you can't expect maybe a government to sort of fix this. It can't be top down. It has to be bottom up, because we are part of this entire ecosystem. So we have to take agency. We have to take control. I think that's what I've tried to do through this novel. I mean, do I like violence? No. If there's a war, a fight, I'm the type of person who would distance myself. But I realized, okay, this is my gift, storytelling. So maybe through that, I could sort of change perspectives, sort of, make people realize, what's going on, just, get them to think a bit.
Now, Maya pushes Zed to speak his truth. What truths do you think Sri Lanka needs to voice at this point right now?
It's our country, because don't wait for a politician to make the decision, because you're intelligent, you have a voice, you also got social media now, you got Instagram, you got your followers. Raise your voice. It's a democratic world. You only live once. You use the power of your voice, and be the change you want to be in the world.
Paper Plane asks what it means to be whole. So when you look at Sri Lanka after yet another catastrophe, what does wholeness look like for our country?
I think we should stop, pause and learn, right? Maybe, I think, because rather than uniting amidst disasters, you should have that spirit, throughout. I think that should be our way forward. I think the youth, they're different maybe to our previous generation, because for example, like me, I don't see I don't see you as maybe a Tamil singer or a Muslim. I see you as a human being. I think that's what the current generation sort of see the world. I think the younger generation, the Gen Zs, the alphas who are who are the little kids playing with the iPhones, I think they're much more smarter. They're well connected. I think they think beyond these boundaries of these geographical boundaries, right? I think they see themselves as global citizens. So I think that thinking would make the shift, and I think that's where literature plays a role, because it kind of change people to help them change their thinking.
As we close Kaleidoscope this week, our hearts are with those affected by nature's fury. We'll be back next week with more stories that matter.